Hey guys, and thank you for joining us today for Cyber Talk with me, Julia Lee, Senior Manager of the Education and Center of Excellence here within the Cybersecurity Division of the Ontario Public Service. I hope everyone enjoyed their summer. We indeed took a short break with Cyber Talk over the summer months, and I just could not wait to be back. I'm excited to share that we have some great sessions planned for you guys for the next few months. But today we are going to put the spotlight on the cyber talent gap, really focusing on the increasing demand for cybersecurity jobs and why this field has become highly sought after in recent years. According to Cybersecurity Ventures, global security job vacancies grew by 350% in the last decade. And our stats for this year, there's a shortage of over 3.5 million cybersecurity jobs to support our global economy. Of course, the cybersecurity division, we've got various ongoing initiatives. It's definitely a very busy time as we rumble through Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October, our favorite time of the year, to the next generation allow for opportunities for people to enter onto the cyber field, which I will talk more about throughout today's episode. Today, guys, we're in for a treat. We have a very special guest with us, Jeff Musson. Jeff is an accomplished entrepreneur to start. He is currently the president of DynamiteNetwork.com, a leading software development company specializing in the area of enterprise and B2B software. While he's not leading the Dynamite team, he's also managing as the executive director of Coding for Veterans, an online instructor-led self-paced retraining program for Canadian Armed Forces for veterans. Hopefully I got that right. Training them in areas such as cybersecurity and software development. Good afternoon, Jeff.
Hey, Julia, how's it going?
It's definitely going on our side, and we're very excited to have you on today's show. Talking about, of course, cybersecurity, it is a growing industry as people start to realize the importance of keeping their data and information safe. And as the industry grows, the demand for technical expertise increases naturally. However, we're seeing that there's a lack of interest in this field, and we have a gap between the supply and demand of talent within cyber. Another stat for you guys, I know we love stats on the show here. Based on the survey done by Fortinet, we can see that more than half of respondents indicated that their organizations struggle to recruit cybersecurity talent. Bringing it over to you, Jeff. What do you see are the main challenges causing the current cyber talent gap?
So I really think there's a few challenges that are causing the problem. Number one, when you look at cyber and just how it's exploding as an area of the industry, it's very difficult in which to keep up with that. I call it exponential growth. So, that really becomes a huge challenge, that you have a lot of demand for quality and educated cyber individuals just by the mere fact that cybersecurity as an industry is growing. On the second part of it is that it's not an easy subject matter in which to study and in which to have a competency in. And so therefore, you're really limited in terms of having the right fit for people to fit the jobs that are open in today's economy. So really, I think it's a mixture of the subject matter in addition to just the overall industry, how it's growing.
Absolutely, and completely agree with your points. It is difficult to keep up with the industry, especially with like kind of the growing threats now, and then the whole supply demand. It's not an easy subject, especially with the stereotypes that's associated with cybersecurity, such as one is the obvious one is cyber, and which we'll get into a little bit later in today's show around you can only work in cybersecurity if you have a cybersecurity background, and I think we've talked about that quite a bit this past year and dispelled one of those myths, but. One of the main issues issues where we see causing the talent gap is there is a lack of interest from young people entering the job market. And I don't know if you agree with me or not on that point there, but even stemming things back to high school, there's a lack of exposure to cyber. And not to be stereotypical, but one of the obvious professions that, children dream of or look to is not always, I want to be a cybersecurity expert. It's, do you want to be a doctor or a teacher or an engineer? As a stat that we've seen through various sectors here from the World Economic Forum in just this year, many sectors such as healthcare, education, electricity, they face actually the largest critical gaps in access to skilled cybersecurity professionals. And there are very few, if any, children who wish to become a cybersecurity specialist when they grow up because of that. So, due to this, many people are not fully aware of the breadth and depth of cybersecurity as a career option. Certainly, in my case, I didn't think that I would have a career in cybersecurity, and here I am, and never looked back since. But we need to start, I think, educating children starting from, when they're young, from K to 12, even looking at our curriculum, looking at our cybersecurity programs to expand the horizons on the opportunities available into the future. What's your opinion or what's your take on this, Jeff?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And what happens is that in terms of really getting the cyber industry and the multitude of occupations within that industry in front of individuals that are younger, kids, teens, those that are in high school, it's imperative for us to actually, not only educate their guidance counselors in, high school, but to really educate those individuals when they're looking for opportunities to say, hey, a career in cyber provides you stability, for the long term, your horizon with your career. Let's face it, a very good paying job as well. And I consider it a cool, innovative job because the threats change so rapidly. No 2 days are the same. And so, we always in our Coding for Veterans program call it lifelong learning, right? So what better confluence of things such as career stability, good paying jobs, and really a cool and innovative career in which to be a part of. Now the question is putting that, those attributes in front of the next generation.
Certainly. And the demand for like just cybersecurity professionals these days, it's outpaced the supply. And that's why it's added to the growing challenge of the significant talent gap that we're seeing in this industry. And can agree more. It is a very cool field. It is a really impactful field to be in cybersecurity. But finding those qualified candidates with the necessary skills for organizations, public or private sector, and experiences to tackle those challenges has also become a bigger challenge in itself, right? So there's definitely many key areas here, but of course, working in cybersecurity, I think that's what we thrive on. That's one of the passions is, how do we tackle a challenge and find some solutions to it? My upcoming question is for you, Jeff, is do you see any potential issues with the current education pipeline being a hindrance to students, like from finding their true passions and seeking new opportunities? And follow up to that, what are the ways Canada can foster talent development?
Yeah, so if you kind of look at the model of our Coding for Veterans program, number one, it's really micro credentialed, right? So it's a compacted learning, but what's wrapped as part of that are your industry certifications, right? Because employers out there, it's great, that you graduated from U of T or from York or, Seneca or whatever, but employers don't have a baseline to know about the curriculum unless an individual writes a certain globally recognized certification. It's very difficult in which to kind of match programs. So, um, when you end up looking at individuals that are going through the system the first time in the education system, it really is something that you want to be able to not only have your theory that you teach in class, but also hands-on, meaning, access to cyber ranges, access to simulations, because someone once told me, when it comes to, cyber, it's a hands-on profession, no different than artists are. And you need a portfolio of work in which to show your talent. So it's not all theory based. So for us, that kind of mixture, will lend itself, I think, to the new way that teaching is happening in today's society.
Definitely. And we do have a lot of students actually on that joins in on all of our episodes here, Jeff. But when it comes to learning, especially the curriculum with coding for veterans, is there a difference in terms of how you're educating within your organization compared to maybe other organizations out there? If you can just kind of share with us what the uniqueness of coding for veterans really brings.
Yeah, so a few things. Number one, the program's delivered 100% online. And if you kind of look at um, where that aligns, it's very difficult to be a cyber expert without being very familiar and comfortable being online. So, right from the beginning, our program mirrors what happens in industry with jobs, right? The second thing that's very important is the curriculum that we have developed is all done in partnership with industry. So our program, together with the University of Ottawa, relies on industry in which to really guide where the program is, because in industry, they're really in tune with the latest threats, right? And so for the curriculum in schools today, it's not just good enough to teach what's been happening in the past. You have to anticipate the future. And I can speak just from our own experience, like our curriculum gets updated every 12 to 18 months, right? And so that is the key, is that it has to um, relate to what's in industry, and that also paves the way for people to be hired directly coming out of a cyber program.
That is fantastic to hear in terms of, how do you leverage higher education through your partnership with the University of Ottawa, and start bringing in that talent and fostering that within your Coding for Veterans program. But my next question for you is a little bit around, a little bit of insight in terms of what sparked you to really develop Coding for Veterans. Like, in other words, what specific skills and expertise are you seeing that professionals from the Army bring to the cybersecurity sector here, specifically in Ontario?
Yeah, so what's interesting is I come from the tech sector. And so, as someone that runs his own software business, I'm very acutely aware of the talent shortage. And I explain to people, if you think talent is the new oil, my team with Coding for Veterans, we discovered a new oil field. We have unlimited refinery capabilities with the University of Ottawa, and then we have the gas stations in which to dispense the gas, or in this case, the talent. And so when you look at the attributes of someone in the tech sector, what are those soft skills, right? You want teamwork, attention to detail, leadership, can-do attitude. And you take a step back and you look and you say, oh, wow, those soft skills are part of the DNA of someone in the military. And really, the whole premise of the program was, is it possible to identify the men and women leaving Canada's military that have an aptitude for technology, partnering with an academic institution, in this case, the University of Ottawa, and develop the curriculum with industry that's very cutting edge, and deliver it in a manner that really works around individual schedule and really mirrors what industry offers. And so, when we first launched the program, we talked to employers and we said, hey, what are the industry certifications that you are looking for, and really what greenlights someone to the job interview? And we worked our way backwards, in essence, built the program backwards. And then we made sure that our curriculum reflected, those industry certifications. And I'm happy to report, like, we have over an 85% placement rate of people coming out of our program. And the average salaries are, pretty significant. I mean, upwards between $80,000 and $90,000 a year. So ultimately, at the end, it's the jobs and filling in that part, which is, the ultimate goal of our program.
That is so refreshing to hear, but it's also very motivating too, right? You definitely saw the opportunity there, to say the very least. You leveraged your skill sets and owning your software company, being aware of the ever-present talent gap, and then a huge area of the various like technical and soft skills where they really merge together to realize an opportunity that we can really leverage to really make an impact to this industry. And wow, 85% placement rate is an amazing stat to share out, which really goes to show like the success of the program on that side. But also shows that, you don't necessarily have to have those skill sets or background in cybersecurity like Jeff or myself here with our backgrounds within software development. My follow-up to that is Jeff, like, where do you really see when you're speaking about that partnership with the University of Ottawa, you leveraging industry trends and so forth? Where do you now see a collaboration happening between public and academia, meeting up to leverage the skills of Army professionals to address that growing demand for cyber talent in Ontario? And what really inspired you to, again, if you would like to kind of add further more on, inspired you really behind the Coding for Veterans initiative?
So when you look at the men and women that serve in our military, they sacrifice a lot. They're away from families. They are transferred to various bases. And literally, as soon as they put down some roots, they're transferred again. So they've really sacrificed their own personal life for the betterment of our country. Well, what better way to honor that sacrifice than to provide them good paying career jobs in the tech industry? And if one thing we always say in our program is individuals go from serving on the battlefield to now serving in cyberspace. And that really kind of encompasses our program. And specifically, when you look at, what can government, academia, bring to the table? Number one, collaboration, right? Because there isn't one silo of our economy that has all the answers as it relates to cyber. The second thing is that I also look at cyber, as being a way that government can bring together industry, they can bring together academia, they can really start fostering a collaboration environment. And the real benefit for government on this is number one, you are creating good paying jobs in the economy. The second thing is that you're now also creating, a very strong knowledge base, in terms of where the needs are and where the demands are in the future. So really government's main role that I see is really that facilitator and bringing all the parties to the table.
Certainly, and I guess coming from government side here, like we can certainly that is definitely one of the initiatives that we're working towards, right? Like how do we connect in, the ministry mandates with those across the broader public sector, bringing together all levels of government as well as the various sectors that we see, and if especially an attention on K to 12 and higher education academia for purposes of retraining, reskilling talent. For the betterment of cybersecurity within the government, but also to continue to foster that talent that we can all benefit from. But I think,
Absolutely. But when you look at it, this
yeah,
is, with your upcoming conference, I mean, that's the perfect example of bringing all the partners together in which to facilitate the dialogue and, really be able to have a leadership role that you and your team have.
course, and I will use that moment there to plug in that if you guys aren't aware yet, Ontario is hosting for the first time ever a 2-day cybersecurity conference, completely hybrid. And you can go on to cybersecurity.ontario.ca to get your tickets and your spot. It is completely free. We would ensure that we built up the capacity to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to join in and listen to our talks and be educated on the most topical items in the cybersecurity realm today. Going back to our chat here, Jeff, I think your mission in helping retrain veterans and their families back into the real world, it's really an amazing initiative. And that's also why I was very excited to come into today's episode. And there are many overlapping skills that people learn while serving that can bring back and really apply back to the cybersecurity world. But can you share some success stories or examples of Army veterans who have successfully transitioned into high impact cybersecurity roles, maybe in Ontario, and what lessons can be learned from these experiences?
Yeah, so what was interesting when we first launched the program, we, you have a bunch of hypotheses that you have. One of them was being where the largest area of the military we're going to draw from are really signals and communications. Well, in reality, the largest area that we draw from is actually infantry and artillery. Something that, the average person's like, hey, what's the connection in with cyber? Well, very simply, number one, a lot of the weapon systems and everything else that our soldiers deal with on a daily basis are really tech focused. So there's a general familiarity. The second thing is we've actually built the curriculum assuming people have zero technical skills as it relates to cyber. They have high aptitude, they have high motivation, but in terms of technical skills, we just assume people have minimal knowledge, and we build it up from that point there. So our program's really kind of staggered. The other thing that's kind of critical with the success of our program is that at the end, it is hard work. Like our cyber program's 980 hours long, right? But if you're going to work in one of the big banks, if you're going to work for defense contractors, they're not just going to allow you access to their SOC, stay with a weekend boot camp. So when you talk about success stories from our program, number one, we're taking people that never dreamt of having a career in IT, all of a sudden finding themselves in this very unique industry. The second thing is that we've been able to really create and foster a culture of alumni from our program. This past September, well, now in September, we've enrolled our 500th student in the program. When the program
Wow.
first launched in 2019, in November, there were 5 students, right? So things have grown, and now we've kind of created an ecosystem out there where individuals who have graduated act as mentors for students coming into our program. They've stood up within their various companies' veteran focus areas, and really for us, those success stories of getting employed and having multiple job offers are what really kind of puts a smile on our organization's face.
And the employers too, right? I'm sure, like, finding
Oh,
those, right skill sets where they're already trained and upskilled and ready to start the work is always very beneficial, of course.
absolutely.
That's fantastic. I just want to also note for I know there's like new viewers here that's joined our chat today. Please continue to put your questions in the chat. We will get to it momentarily. We've got a very interesting conversation here, and I think I can definitely just go on with this conversation here, Jeff. But as we start to wrap things up here, our last question is a question that I asked to all my guests. What is the best cybersecurity advice you can give for or have ever received if you narrow it down to maybe one or two?
Yeah, so best advice, always be learning, right? Always be that sponge that wants to, kind of soak up knowledge, because being on top of industry trends, being on top of what's knowing out there is critical. And then really the second thing is if you want to be successful in a career in cyber, start networking and getting to know people in the industry. Someone once told me, your network is your currency, right? So if you're going to be in this industry, start to get to know everything from the technical side, but also the people side, because you'll actually learn, or I did, you think that cybersecurity is really a large industry. Well, guess what? It's really, everyone knows everyone else in there, right? And getting in that ecosystem for those that want to break into the industry is very critical, and it's needed if you're going to be successful.
That's really great advice in terms of just like the success stories even you shared, right? It really ties in terms of allowing people who never thought of or even dreamt of working in IT, providing them a career that's very life-changing in a positive way. And thank you to your leadership on creating that alumni program. And I hopefully in this chat today that's inspired many people on this call to think about critically about which programs they apply to, but also thinking back of how can they kind of tweak up some of their programs at their organizations as well to really benefit either it's a certain group or generally a larger group. And that's exactly some of the great work that we do here as part of it is just a cybersecurity conference, but it's much more than that in terms of the collaborations, the partnerships that we see between your organizations as one of the sponsors, academia, and various organizations and agencies across various sectors. To wrap things up, I think, advice was always learn. I am a huge advocate for learning. So always be learning. It's important to be on top of trends and know what's really out there. To succeed, you need to go and network with people in the industry. And it's really important to be connected in cyber knowledge. And I couldn't agree more. I also understand, Jeff, you also lead a podcast. Is that if I remember correctly here, if you could maybe share a little bit there and maybe guide some of our viewers on where they can go to kind of listen in to continue to educate themselves in cybersecurity.
Yeah, so our podcast is called One Click to Chaos. And really, what it does is it focuses on issues that are in the cyber area, but we've brought it down to a level that non-technical people can understand, right? And we have had guest speakers like General Dave Frazier. He led NATO's largest battle ever. And, we talk about the Ukraine war. We talk about the influence of China. We talk about various cyber breaches, talent issues. So we're on Spotify. Like I said, One Click to Chaos, Cyber Chaos. And, it's really, a great platform in which to talk about issues facing the cybersecurity world.
Thank you. And another area for us to continue to raise cyber awareness outside of today's episode. All right. So I know that some of you guys have been anxiously been waiting for some of your questions to be answered. I see there's a whole lot of questions in the chat today. We'll pivot things over, Jeff. I've got it. I see there's a few questions lined up for yourself here. Our first question here is coding for veterans the only of its kind program globally?
So what's interesting is our program just got approved in the US to be part of the GI Bill. So we are now expanding our footprint. And I can tell you in terms of, look, there are a number of programs out there that, focus on cyber and they, train military veterans and others. But what really makes us unique is that not only do we provide that training, but we partner in with academic institutions. We include industry certifications. And then really, we also help the students in our program with our career suite, everything from interviewing, setting up LinkedIn profiles, doing your resume, which then prepares them for their career in the cyber area.
That is fantastic. A very unique program, guys. I do encourage you guys to go visit for more details. And I think for Jeff, if they want to connect in with you directly there, can they connect with you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And I welcome the connection and look forward to it.
Awesome. All right. Why not implement cybersecurity basics into the current curriculum for children at a younger age? I think that is a great question. That is definitely something that I will say that Ontario is currently focusing on through our K to 12 initiatives. And actually, a sneak peek here, as part of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, that's launching in less than a week officially from our side on October 3rd this year. We actually are launching a K to 12 zone as part of our education and awareness to in collaborations with teachers, educators, as well as students and school boards, of course. So that is all centralized on cybersecurity.ontario.ca. So in terms of, implementing that into the curriculum, that is something that we are looking towards. And I think that's a fantastic suggestion. Jeff, any thoughts on around, implementing the curriculum for children at a younger age?
Put it this way, there's no downside, right? So why aren't we doing it? And really, the other thing is too, even exposing individuals to the possibilities of working in this industry through, you know, making cyber relatable, and by introducing that early in the education, and as part of, computer classes or what have you. Um, we definitely should do that. And I applaud you and your team for really spearheading that.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Yeah, the team's done an absolute great job. For these campaigns of this scale here, it takes at least 6 months in development because each and every day there's an event, an activity, or an ask there to follow us through a journey. So especially for the K to 12, we try to make it very one is challenging, but we also make sure that cybersecurity is always going to be fun and that resonates with them, that they are going on. It's not another item on their list of homework to do, but it should be insightful. It should be, engaging. Talking about insights, then our next question is asking around any insight on how newcomers to technology and cybersecurity can better transition and prepare themselves for the workforce, given that many or majority of their roles available at this time look for people with previous experience in cybersecurity or information technology. I get asked this question a lot. How do you get into the field? How do you get your foot in the door if you've got, very limited cybersecurity skills and, on these qualifications and these postings require maybe 5 to 10 years of previous experience. So maybe I'll pass it for you to you first, Jeff, to kind of get your thoughts on these types of questions.
Yeah, so we actually get this a lot too with students coming out of our program. And number one thing that we say is when you look at those job postings, they're looking for the optimal person, the unicorn, right? Like if you are able to supplement or show that you've had, something equivalent in terms of some of that experience, they will, look at that as a possibility. The second thing is we also look at things such as spending time on cyber ranges, being part of capture the flag events, things that reflect the real world and document, your success that you've had with that. That also becomes key. And then really the third thing is in terms of breaking into the industry, you know, I hate, when you look at it, there are volunteer opportunities, right? There are organizations out there that are looking for help. And quite frankly, you want to get in with the ISC squared community. You want to get in with the Fortinet community, Cisco, others, and, start looking for opportunities, not when you want them, but start now so that when your career and when you're kind of getting in there, you've already built out at least the base of a network.
Absolutely. And I think, just to add to that as well, like my recommendation is, never feel intimidated or, feel shy away from a job opportunity or an opportunity to apply to a certain certification or a program because it requires previous experience. You just never know until you try, is usually my go at it. And this is a lot of it because our team works in a very agile environment. So things are rapidly changing in cybersecurity. Of course, we heard from today's episode. We need more cybersecurity experts out there and people who can really support the cybersecurity ecosystem, leveraging your many skill sets. So definitely don't be shy. If you do need more information on that, happy to chat with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you look you guys hit the nail on the head in terms of opportunities, and you succinctly pulled it together.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Yeah, we do try to do that. First off, we experimented when we implemented our cybersecurity co-op program back in summer of 2020, just a few years back. And to date here, we've got a ton of students who has moved on, who has graduated, who has come with us for another term, who has now transitioned to become full-time staff. That's also another opportunity. But of course, there's way more opportunities besides, coming in from a co-op program. But that's one of the creative ways that we are trying to introduce cybersecurity to the younger generation, if with so forth, on top of the curriculums and some of the education programs that we are trying to influence with the school boards. The next question is quite a great suggestion. Can government provide a list of certificates, expertise, roles which are most in demand, and in which industry? I think that in terms of the list there are a ton if you just go on and Google them. But I will say that some of the certifications, depending, especially within cybersecurity, and what we are assisting staff or team members within our cybersecurity team, and we're seeing is CISSP, of course, your CISA certificate, CSAM, Security Plus, some of those kind of general certifications. But then we also, on our side of the Center of Excellence, we've launched a micro credential in collaborations with the Toronto Metropolitan University, apologies, on that front there, on a cyber policy micro credential program. So more details on that is also centralized on cybersecurity.ontario.ca. Jeff, any insights in terms of, or anything to add to that?
In terms of where things kind of go, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? And being able to really, focus on what your end goal is with the career and make sure, that everything typically will align with what your end goal is, right? And don't be afraid to reach out to others in industry, and specifically, again, goes back to what role can government play? Perfect, right? This is an ideal one, which can really be a one-stop shop that is able to facilitate you know uh, the value of these certifications, and what do industries typically require.
Absolutely. I think we've already answered this one, but are there many veterans getting into cybersecurity these days?
Yes, they are. And really, it's the mere fact that the when you look at the soft skills and the attributes of cyberspace, it almost aligns perfectly with those attributes of someone serving in the military. Defense is first and foremost on your mind. The second thing is protecting and serving. Well, that kind of aligns with what's with cyber. And really, like I said, we go from serving on the battlefield to now serving in cyberspace.
That in itself is just a fantastic story, just coming full circle in terms of how we make an impact to society in general. And of
Yeah.
course, like, cybersecurity that can protect our family or friends and impacts pretty much almost every component of our lives. Um, as a newcomer, there's a question here. I want to know whether there are any boot camps or hand-on experiences in person available in Ottawa. I think this one is definitely for you, Jeff.
Yeah, so there are some groups in which to join, right? So when you look at various meetup groups, a lot of them are actually out in Canada as it relates to cyber. And there's also chapters of globally recognized organizations like ISC Squared and others. One thing that I would always suggest is being part of these, computer science groups or others. And that, quite frankly, is where you end up hearing about things like capture the flag events, which take place, over a day, or, even starting with hackathons that have a cybersecurity focus on it, right? And really, the internet is the best way in which to set up Google alerts as it relates to this. And quite frankly, uh, a lot of people don't even like, you know, it's all free in which to join, right? And even if you're an individual not knowing anyone else, there are so many people looking to form teams. And I know we've organized a lot of events like this, and it's been really, you know, the outcomes have been really successful.
That's great. Another question here is around Ontario Cybersecurity Conference and who gets accepted here. So we have been quite overwhelmed in a positive way that our event has been sold out a month before at least the actual event coming in 2 weeks time, in less than 2 weeks actually, guys, on October 10th and 11th. Tickets were sold out. However, for our students, it's still available. And, you know, for any executives, two executives at any organizations, virtual is available. It's just, you know, again, we are just quite overwhelmed with the responses, the positive responses that people are quite eager to join on. But there's very little difference between the in-person and virtual. So everything, again, at the sessions are going to be hybrid. And on that note, because I know that there are a few students that didn't get an in-person ticket there, we do have some student events coming up, which I will share at the next episode here in October for that's rumbling through some events in November that you do not want to miss. All right. I think we've got time for maybe two more questions here. How do you propose matching veterans with vendor-specific certifications? Can we bring partnerships with Trend Micro, Cloudflare, etc., for training?
Yeah. So how we built the correct curriculum is really to make it flexible, right? And so we have different modules that students are able to take just as they're completing their studies. You know, we have partnerships with Microsoft, with Google, and really, you know, even though our program is micro credentialed, we'll call these you know, credentials that people are really able to leverage in our program, which then facilitates the hiring, not only with, you know, take for instance, say with, you know, Google Cloud and what have you, but also the third party vendor network. And that is kind of key.
Right. Do you believe AI technologies have the potential to replace or affect certain cybersecurity roles? I think the answer to that is, of course, yes. And how do you see this impacting the industry in terms of efficiency and expertise?
I actually think AI is going to be a good thing for cybersecurity. When you look at cyber breaches, what really trips people or brings awareness to a breach is there's been some kind of anomaly that's happened, right? And right now we're relying on humans to detect those anomalies. When you introduce AI at a very basic level, now you can have computers and machine learning look at those breaches. And then what happens is the humans can then identify, yeah, you know what, this was a false alarm, or okay, you know, there's something here and it's worth us doing some more digging. So for us, AI is going to be very transformative, and a lot of the rudimentary work that happens in cyber, I think, is going to be taken over by AI, which then means humans can now start interpreting the data and kind of move up the ladder, so to speak.
Absolutely. And with AI too, you know, many people say, you know, how is AI shifting and really being a game changer for cybersecurity? AI has been used in cybersecurity before this whole uproar and before this big trend for AI kind of been established in this past year. We've been using these programs to detect and respond to cyber threats in real time. On our side here, we've got a 24/7 cybersecurity operations center that is looking at the algorithms to analyze those large amounts of data. And it's all leveraging AI. So, if anything, in cybersecurity, it's going to propel things a lot more. It's going to probably help impact in a positive way with the cyber talent gap on top of that, right? So, how do we kind of get things out more quicker, more efficiently, especially on the government side to protect Ontarians and organizations across the board? I think we have time just for one more quick question here. I know that we said we would cut off at 2, but there's a lot of questions today and totally understandable. It's been a while since we've had one of our episodes. How can cybersecurity experts provide insights or recommendations of cyber defense positions to the government regarding Canadian laws and regulation of cyberspace? Of course, that is the work here that we are so passionate about here at the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. Please connect in with ourselves, share your ideas, share your insights and recommendations. We also have embedded a live chat function for ongoing questions that you may have in terms of what we're currently working towards. Any questions related to the Ontario cybersecurity team, please. We're trying to find different channels to make it easier for you guys to connect in with us, or you can email us directly at cybersecurity@ontario.ca. All right. At this point here, Jeff, I don't know if there's anything you could have like to add. Is there any kind of, also insights or recommendations that gets vetted through for Coding for Veterans? How can folks get in touch with you? I think we talked about connecting with you on LinkedIn. Is there any other avenues?
Yeah, so go to our website, codingforveterans.com. There's contact us form. We also have our social media feeds, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, and what have you. For us, where I kind of see the future going, I'm really excited, and I think Canada and specifically Ontario can be a world leader in the cybersecurity space. And for us, it's not only an opportunity that presents itself, but it's when you bring key stakeholders together, like what your team's doing, what industry is doing, and what have you, for collaboration. At that point, it's success for everyone around the table. So, I'm really enthusiastic about opportunities in the future, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And I think at this point here, this does conclude our Cyber Talk session. A special thank you to you, Jeff, for giving your time and advice. I know you are a very busy man. So thank you, and especially with the many hats that you put on. And those of you who have watched and participated, and again, a warm welcome to those who are new to our episode here. I hope you're able to learn more about the cyber talent gap and the various ways to really enter into cybersecurity. And in terms of today too, what we talked about, the largest area for that, veterans and Code for Veterans bring is the impact they have to the cybersecurity realm. But we need to adopt this from infantry to artillery, and the program really is built for people with minimal technical skills. I know that there's still more questions rumbling through on that aspect there, but in terms of if you have any more comments or questions, again, please do contact us or drop more of your questions or the chat. We will get to them. And as always, it's important to stay on top of the cybersecurity best practices. And what better way than to continue to come onto the show for next month, as well as join us on the podcast, One Click to Chaos, to keep yourself and those around cyber safe. So I encourage everyone to keep coming back and learning about cybersecurity with us on the Cyber Talk Show with me, Julia Lee. Stay cyber safe and see you soon, guys.